Wait for it. Oh, it's up, my guys. All right. So, whoops, sorry, that pop filters. You could probably got a blast of wind from that. So, the last deck in this series that we're looking at is the Earth deck. A lot of people are saying the Earth deck is the second strongest. Not necessarily is it the second strongest, but I think what really skews it is because fire is so more like so aggressive and snowbally that this is the deck that slows it down enough to really answer it. So I think this Earth deck is also it's probably out of like most focused decks, it probably goes lightning, wind, earth, fire, water. And this deck is probably if we're looking at like tiers for decks, the S tier is fire, earth is I think A plus. We're looking at like a B plus tier for a wind and lightning, and our C tier for a water. So we're looking at middle of the road for both how well a little above the road for how well the deck plays, but I think that's mostly just skewed because of fire and a very middle of the road for how focused of a deck it is. So again, we're going to start off with what's not great in this deck. And honestly, there's not a lot that's not that great in this deck. I think in this deck, having 2 Drataya for the Enchanted Ambrosia and 2 Ambrosia is a little slow and not consistent. Like, Drataya is a okay card, because it's a bad card with a great effect. But you need 2 cards to do it, and this deck doesn't really have a ton of ways to find both. It's not super turbo-y draw. Like, there's a lot of draw power, don't get me wrong, but again, needing 2 specific cards and we're only running 2 of each in the deck is not super consistent. What else do I not think is super impactful in this deck? Um, Honestly, oh man, some of these cards are just so good. Like, Clovey's not the strongest in this deck. Spinosect, I love Spinosect. It is pretty good, but there's not a ton of synergy in the deck for him. But he's definitely a card that can hold its own. Oh, I think Sir Cursor, for as good as that ability is, having 6/6 stat line with the way that the meta of these 5 decks plays, not strong enough to live. So what this is basically saying is, you know, ascend to a 2 drop, which isn't too difficult. You expend 2 to draw 2, so you're basically nogging with this, but it's going to die right away. You're going to lose your board state. I might honestly just take it out. I'd rather just run a third Nog than Succor Sword. Other than that, this deck is pretty well focused. Like, it's got. So, this is a control deck, first off. This is, out of the 5 decks we have, this is the control deck. And being that it's a control deck, it actually has so much good removal. It runs an Earthquake, we all know is a really good removal card. Spinimp is almost removal, like it hits stuff really like, oh no, it dies. You want it to die, so you give 0 attack to something. And then you just hit it for free. Like, Spinif's great. Poison tipped arrow, great as removal. We have a pretty solid rune destruction package in this deck too. So, like, we have Equal Links, which is alright. It's a 4/3 Nexus Destroyer rune. We can Tornado runes. We can P-Gust runes. Like, it's got a rune destruction package. It's got a good creature destruction package. It's got some of the tempo things that we like to see in, like, you know. Now, this deck doesn't go as hard on the Volcaries strategy like Tectorus would, because Volcaries, what helps Volcaries is you can play Hephaestus for 3, get a hammer with 2, and equipped, and bam, you have a huge thing. Tectorus is like, okay, play Tectorus, play Scythe, maybe play Forest, play Demeter. That's a lot more cards to get to the level that Volcaries gets to with only a couple cards. So Tectorus is fine. He's not going to be, your 10 attacker. He's going to be like a 7 attacker for 1, which is still really good. Sprout here is going to find our Scythe of Demeter. Scythe of Demeter, solid artifact. 2/3 defense, and it goes great with our September to find our Centaur. This deck is the one deck that you can theoretically go defensive till you get Centaur out, and then use Centaur to pick away at the problems. It's a good deck. It's a control deck. It has great top end card. It has ways to protect that top end card, and it's one of the few decks that can probably get to that top end card without having some weird blowouty thing. So, how would we adjust this deck? First off, I think the Tsunami is a little weird, but I'm going to keep it because we do run the Vertaco, and we already know Vertaco is pretty solid, especially with Sorlet. Vertaco Sorlet, it's a great combo. I'd probably take out the Tornado. I think we have the Pigus and the Equalinks to do it. I'd probably take out the Clovey. We do have a lot of like synergistic cards, but I'd probably take the Clovey. I'd take out the Cursor. And what would I add? Oh, let's see. Anything else I want to take out? Not really. Like 4 cards maybe. Oh, maybe the Spina. No, Spinasack's all right. We can have one in there. Like again, it's pretty defensive. We might run one Centaur, but because we're controlling deck, we have a slow deck. We do have a chance to harden play it. We'll keep Centaur. What might we take out? Circle the Sky. What do we Nexus for? Nexus gets Centaur. Yeah, we want to get Nexus stuff on Centaur so we can ping stuff easier with them. Oh man, there's just so many good cards in this deck. Like, it's just got such a good control package. It's hard to just say, oh, I want more of something. All right, so what would we add to this deck to make it more consistent? All right, so we're control deck, right? We would want to add a third Ambrosia. If we're playing Drataya, which I think we are, we're either adding a third Drataya and 3 Ambrosias, or we're taking all the Drataya, running 2 Ambrosias, and we're putting the Cloves back in. So hopefully we get a third Drataya with the side deck stuff. Hopefully we get a third Ambrosia. If we don't get those, hopefully we get something else. But otherwise, we take the Dratayas out, and I think we put the Cloves in. Because a 2-4 and a 2-2 are basically the same stat line because those 5 attacks are just going to swing into them anyway. We would add, I think, another Tectorus to this deck because Tectorus is just a solid mid-range card. Hopefully we get another Nog. Like, that's what this deck would be. You know, just a little bit more creature power, a little bit more consistency. And that's really all you need. Like, you know, if you get this September out early, great. You know, you got some Ambrosias stay defensive. Spinif makes it defensive. Spinasac defensive. Pigas remove runes. That's all I do to this to make it better. Uh, this is the last video I'm making in this kind of series. Um, so I'll just kind of close out my thoughts of all of it. I think that because Dan's listening to us, he's really like, okay, you know what? There's a little bit of trouble with the, you know, the 5 decks because not necessarily that they're bad, but because some decks are a little bit more focused, a little bit more powerful because of the limited nature in the deck. That he wants to, you know, help us adjust the decks and give us more power over constructing the decks. I love that. I love that he's listening to everyone. The community is super great. Community's like talking about the cards. It's a great experience. So I appreciate that. I also think that Water is going to have some of the strongest cards in the game, but they're just not in the deck. Like we saw Tadpuff. Let me go pull it out so you guys can see Tadpuff. Tadpuff, you know what Tadpuff does? Tadpuff lets you play Majesty on turn 1. Literally, like you can play a 3-drop on turn 1. Where is he? Where's the lad? Tadpuff is so good. So Tadpuff, you can expend 1 water to special enchant this from your hand with 1 water in attack position. What does that mean? That means you can skip in 1 turn straight to a 2 enchant, and if you have Poseidon out, you can skip straight to a 3. So you play Tadpuff, play Poseidon, throw Nexus from Poseidon onto Tadpuff, play Majesty as your normal enchant for turn 1. Like cards like this in water, cards like Aphros in water, make the deck like make water's gonna be like the premier like ramp effect. Like just super just speed up, get into there, like play a big creature. You could play like Earth Water and Misenchant Centaur turn 1, maybe Nexus to fix it, and then on the turn after just play an Earth Spirit on him to get his effect rolling, and then just enchant that Earth Spirit because you have the ability again to destroy something. Like Water is going to be very strong. It's unfortunate the Water deck is where it's at right now. Fire is going to get better, but because all the decks are going to get better and the ability to handle fire is going to get to a good point, fire's not going to be as oppressive with those extra 12 cards. 100%. Lightning is a great mid-range option. There's a little bit of chance of locking your opponent out with the discard effects. It's got some aggro creatures, got some control creatures, got some decent removal. That's solid. Wind has this really nice tempo mid-rangey play where it's a resilient, like, okay, I'm gonna go for Shadow Moth. Aw, dang it, I missed Shadow Moth. Let me clear out my opponent's board. Let me do a couple things, and let me go for the Shadow Moth again. That makes Wind pretty solid. Earth, we kind of went over just now. It's a very focused control deck. It's got lots of ways to stop fire, which is what makes it that A tier right now. It's stopping the S tier deck. Like with no changes, if people are playing fire, if you want to beat fire, you play earth. If you want to beat water, you play everything. You want to beat wind, probably want to play either lightning or fire to get ahead of them. Earth might struggle a little bit with wind because wind has a lot of answers. So if they play Spinif, you could potentially destroy the Spinif that's enchanting your like Shroud Moth or something with one of your effects. Like, so I think Earth might have its worst matchup with the Wind deck, just because Wind can knock out some of the control cards Earth has. Um, but yeah, I think. Oh, you know what we're missing in this Earth deck? Now that I mention it, we might want to put some counter runes in. Other than that, yeah, that's my thoughts. Like, I think they're doing a good job. I think we missed the mark a little bit with the water deck. Like, if everything else was the same and we changed the water deck by like 3 cards, every deck would be at a playing field that they'd all be within a decent win rate of each other, in my opinion. But yeah, so this is the last video for this little 5 video series. I'm going to upload them all probably at once, but you'll probably see them all come out an hour after each other. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll just upload them all at once. I gotta make thumbnails for all these. But until then, you guys have a good one. I'll probably do some more stuff tomorrow just because I'm off from work, and it'll be great. And for you guys in the future, just go watch the rest of my videos that way or that way or that way, up there, over there. I don't know. Somewhere. There's videos. Oh, wait, what's that? There's a subscribe button over that direction. No, sorry, that direction. I know my camera positioning. So, yeah. I love you guys. Thanks for talking. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good one. Peace.